I always thought, like I'm doing this thing with the bike because it makes me happy. And I kind of felt bad that I had to work so hard to be happy. I felt like why can't I just like be okay with what I'm doing now? Why do I have to do all this to find or to feel that happiness?
Welcome to the Blue Rose Podcast. I'm your host, Becca Blue Rose, a runner, storyteller, and believer in creating a life that feels like your own. Some weeks it's just you and me, and other weeks I'm joined by women who are chasing their own version of a bold, unapologetic life. Together we explore what it really means to take risks and trust your own path. Today's guest is Valentina Mancera, an ultra-distance bikepacker who discovered the sport during the pandemic and quickly found herself racing some of the toughest events in the world, including the Tour Divide and the Triple Crown of Ultras. In this conversation, Valentina shares what it is really like to race alone for days, the mental health challenges that come with pushing your limits, and why curiosity, not confidence, has been the driving force behind her journey. Please welcome Valentina.
I'm Valentina Mancera. I've been doing bikepacking. I'm from Mexico City. And yeah, I spent a year racing and right now I'm working in other stuff.
How did you get into bikepacking?
I followed Chris Burkhardt and Bill Wilcox and yeah, during the pandemic. And I started following them because of their pictures. And then so in 2022 I lived in Sweden. I did a semester abroad. And I saw that they were gonna do a race in Iceland that was basically a route that Leo and Chris made. So I wanted to follow their footsteps, so I just decided to try it out. Yeah.
So what was your first bikepacking experience like?
Yeah, well, that was the first experience I had. I didn't even try like a trip before the race. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I
Like,
don't
your
know if
first
it's
experience bikepacking was doing a bikepacking race?
Yeah. I don't know if it's exactly a bikepacking race because it
Okay,
wasn't completely so supported. We did have a bit of help, and it was a stage race,
okay.
but it was my first experience, kind of carrying little stuff and pedaling many many hours. Yeah.
Prior to this, were you, like, a biker or
Yeah, I mean, I didn't even compete. I started when I was very very young. My mom taught me how to bike, and we used to do a lot of mountain biking in the weekends, but it was always very, not competitive or anything. Yeah, it started a little bit more intense in the pandemic because I didn't have anything to do. I think many people started like that.
So then walk me through your journey of, like, biking since that first experience.
In Iceland?
In Iceland, yeah.
Yeah. Well, that was my first kind of intense long distance race. And after that experience, I was just kind of obsessed with the feeling of being able to push my limits and just pedal through these amazing landscapes. So that pushed me to then sign up to a race in Colombia called Transcordilleras, and that was the first, I think, official bikepacking race I signed up for. Also, I didn't do any bikepacking trips between Iceland and Transcordilleras because I mean, it's kind of I didn't have here in Mexico. It's still true. I have friends now that do bikepacking here, but at that time, I didn't know anybody who did this type of cycling, so it was very hard to plan, bikepacking trips and such here, and I couldn't really do it alone. So, I mean, that was always a challenge training for these stuff. But then I got to Colombia to Transcordilleras, and it was a very difficult race for me. I just didn't know anything. I didn't go with the right lights. I think I cycled 3 nights in a row without the proper lights, and it was horrible because it was in a mountain. And then I didn't know how to eat for these races, so I was just basically I just had a horrible time physically in Colombia. But I knew it was an exception and I wanted to keep on exploring it. And then I signed up for this race, a shorter one because I was working at the time. So I didn't have so much time. I signed up to race the Texas Showdown. I don't know if you've heard of it.
I have not.
So it's a shorter, it's a 450-kilometer race, and I did that one, and it was my first time riding without sleep. So I basically rode for like 36 hours straight, and I felt super strong. So then again, I just couldn't get enough. And yeah, that's how I like no, a few months later, I decided, I wanna give this a shot and try to do the hardest or the race I think I can't do.
Mhm.
And so I decided I wanted to do the Tour Divide. And then I said, if I'm gonna quit to do the Tour Divide because I can't do it with the job I had then, I said, I might just do a year of riding. And to train for the Tour Divide, I signed up for the what's the name? Last Mountain Race in Morocco. Yeah, so that's like my whole 3 years of racing. Yeah.
I love it. Okay, so something I talk about on this podcast a lot is confidence. We all have these ideas and you saw Chris and you're like, "Okay, I wanna do this thing." Like, what gives you the confidence to just like, "I'm just gonna go do that and, like, try it out," and be like, "I know nothing and I know these are different races, but, like, I have the wrong lights and I have no idea what I'm doing and this is a terrible experience." Where does that confidence come from?
Well, for starters, I don't know if it's confidence. I think I just have a lot of curiosity. That's what drove. Yeah, I don't think it's confidence. Many of
Okay.
the times I haven't been prepared for what I'm doing, and I know
Mhm.
it, and I'm not confident I will finish the race or I will, you know, achieve what I want to achieve. It's just I'm always curious to see if I will be able to do it. I think that's kind of enough. Well, it
Mhm.
had been enough for the races before the Colorado Trail, I guess.
And this experience that you were talking about, it was, like, really terrible and you just, like, didn't have any clue what you were doing, but, like, what does that type of experience teach you about what you're capable of and, like, what made you decide, I wanna do this again even though it was terrible?"
Yeah. Well, I guess, yeah, combined with curiosity, I there's these very special moments during these races that just make everything worth it. Even if I was having a terrible time in Colombia, there were moments where I would just look up and the landscape would be just amazing. And there these specific moments that just they've driven me to sign up to the other races. And I think that's it, actually. It's never been more than just, being able to really, I don't know, look around and see that I'm in a very beautiful place and I'm doing this alone, but I have all the support system, and it just felt, I don't know, it's a combination, yeah, of curiosity and just being able to see how beautiful everything is.
Mhm. So you said you quit your job in order to train for the Tour Divide. Okay, so walk me through that a little bit of how you were able to make that decision and how you were able to kind of like support yourself because right, I think we all have big dreams and ambitions and it's funny because I'm sure you know Quinda.
Yeah.
And she's the one that yeah, she recommended I reach out to you, and she was just kind of like, "I just, like, never think about that stuff, like, I just quit my job and thought, like, I could find another one." And so I'm always just curious the differences of, like, yeah, like, how you were able to, support yourself and, like, feel like you knew that this was the decision that you wanted to make, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, well, the decision to quit my job was definitely it was a very hard decision. It did take a long time. And not just like, like making the decision, but being okay with it myself. I think that was the hardest because I felt like I was sacrificing a lot for something that was just a bike. I mean, I was gonna quit a job that was like a good job, to like ride my bike. It just, in my head, I had to justify it and I had to find ways to do it. And I think that was the hard part. And yeah, I mean, once I think I'm kind of like Quinda like that. I mean, I do have the privilege of like being with a family that I'm not I didn't have to think a lot about like how am I gonna pay my rent and stuff because I'm living with my parents. So at least for a few months, I knew I could take care of myself at least. I thought my savings were gonna be enough for for these 6 months, which wasn't true. They all like flew away in the Tour Divide. But after I quit my job and after I did all this like mental process of, okay, this is what I want to do and it's fine that I want to do it. I also had to do all of this process with my parents because they're not. I mean, I think my mom is athletic, but they have this very like how do I say this? Like this very strict, like way of how you
Yeah.
have to
Like
do every step of
expectations.
your life. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I understand it, like I
Mhm.
studied law and I was being a lawyer and then I was like, yeah, I don't want to do that anymore. I'm gonna compete. And that for them I think was also something they had to process and I had to process it with them. But yeah, once I made that decision, they did start supporting me and that really helped me because I was able to really take my time to plan how I was gonna do it right. And that's when everything kind of came into place. I met this amazing person, and this man, he helps a lot of cyclists in Mexico, financially. Yeah, he's like really helped a very important team here. So I reached out to him and I told him, I would love to meet you and just tell you about what I want to do. And yeah, it was a very different. I went to his office and it was a very different. He didn't even know bikepacking existed. So I had to introduce the whole idea and the whole project. He got super excited about it. And yeah, so he was able to help me financially with like sponsoring at least the Tour Divide Colorado and what was gonna be Arizona. Yeah.
Okay, that's awesome. So, in that first year, like, when you were just starting out, just training, so that was the first year in that year that you were like, "Okay, I'm quitting my job." That was when you were training for the Tour Divide. So, in that year, was there ever, like, moments where you're like, "What am I doing?" Was there moments where you're like, "Oh, like, I'm surprising myself and I'm, like, confident that I can do this," you know?
I think something that happens to me a lot is that it takes me a long time to make decisions. Not long time, but it takes me a long time to accept what I want to do. But once I decide to do something, I kind of just go. I
Okay.
really don't think about it again. So once I was okay with what I was doing, I just didn't even think about it again. I was like, okay, that's what I'm gonna do.
Yeah.
And part about, I mean, I forgot to say before, but first I quit because I was gonna do the Tour Divide, and then part of my process of like justifying to myself, I was like, I have to do something bigger, and if I'm gonna have time, then I should do more races. So I should then do the Triple Crown. So I connected all of these dots that later became a problem. Like, I didn't think about it that much. I just said like, why not? I'll just do it, and then I feel good about me doing it, about
Yeah.
myself taking like doing this if I do the Triple Crown. Yeah, and I just like went with it. I didn't think about it.
Why do you think it takes you so long to accept what you're gonna do?
I don't know. I just judge myself a lot.
Mm.
Like, yeah, I shouldn't. I'm always thinking, I shouldn't. Yeah, I shouldn't want to quit my job. I shouldn't do the bike because then I'm being irresponsible because it's just like a train. Yeah,
Yeah, it's like that whole train of, like, self-doubt and comparison of, like, looking at other people and being like, "Well, they're doing this thing, and I should I shouldn't want to, like I shouldn't want more." There's, like, a little bit of that, and, like, I don't know if like, where that comes from, but it is, like, this underlying layer of we should be happy with what we have,
yeah,
and we shouldn't want more, but, like, I feel like that's why our daydreams exist
yeah.
is, like, if I can have this dream, like, in my head, why can't I have it in my life, you know?
Yeah, and I think also a little bit weird, but I always thought, like I'm doing this thing with the bike because it makes me happy, and I kind of felt bad that I had to work so hard to be happy. I felt like why can't I just like be okay with what I'm doing now? Why do I have to do all this to find or to feel that happiness? Yeah.
And does biking make you happy? Because I guess I'm always curious about this because it's like, right, like type 2 fun of like there's a lot of moments in endurance sports where it's like arguably I am not happy, but there is that like sense of like I don't wanna say, like, unhappiness for, like, the for something that you want to be pursuing almost. I don't know how to exactly put that, but it's like you're putting yourself in this situation, and it's like, maybe I'm not super happy in this moment, but it's like the outcome and the process is, like, what's making me happy.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's a combination. I mean, biking does make me really happy. It really does. And in the races, I guess you you yeah, I thought about this a lot. I think you're creating a space and a moment where you're forced to pay attention to stuff. So like I really like nature, you know, and in bike and when you're cycling, when you're bikepacking and racing, and you didn't sleep, you don't have phone signal, you are only thinking about eating and pedaling, and you just find yourself in this amazing place. There isn't anything that's gonna distract you from that. Not even, I mean, everything you just are forced you're forced to look at stuff and to really pay attention. And I think that's what I mean, at least for me, those are the moments that make me happy in the bike. And if I can't find that on the bike, then I it happened to me in Colorado. I was having such a bad time that I didn't really everybody told me, like, "Oh, look around, it's amazing." And I was like, "Yeah, I can't." Like that was a moment with the bike, didn't make me happy. For me, getting to the finish line, I've never had I'm kind of embarrassed to accept this, but I've never had like a happy finish line. Like I've
Okay.
met Yeah, only once in Iceland, but the rest of the races I've done, I kind of get to the finish line and I'm like, I just can't process anything at all. Yeah, it comes after.
I feel like that makes sense though, because it's like you're just so happy to kind of be done, right?
Yeah.
Like, you're like, I'm
Mm.
so tired and strung out, and that was really hard. And then it kind of like takes you a minute to just go home and take a shower and then eat something and then maybe
Yeah.
sleep. And then you wake up the next morning and you're like, whoa, did that just happen?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's something that, I mean, that's something that I struggle with a little bit, but I'm curious, like, does the achievement of the goal ever make you feel as good as the process does?
For me, not really, I think.
Mhm.
Yeah. For me, I just the process for me is I mean the race itself, it yeah. Yeah, just like the good moments in the race are what really makes me happy and makes me proud. Yeah. Really, when I finish a race, I think I'm not very competitive in that sense. It takes me a while to feel proud of myself after achieving a race. Even after people say like, "Ah, I'm super proud of yourself. You feel super proud of yourself for doing this." I usually just feel happy to be able to have been able to see what I saw rather than to finish or yeah.
So, for a lot of people listening, because like this podcast isn't just about bike packing, and I've had a few bike packers on, but I don't know if I've ever like talked about the triple crown of ultras on here. So I don't know if you'd mind just explaining a little bit about like what that is, and then maybe just walking us through what each race was like for you and kind of how that process turned out.
Okay, yeah. So the Triple Crown, it's a challenge. You're supposed to finish these 3 races in one same year, and you have to do these races, on the grande part. Because these races, you can actually do them anytime, like, whenever you want. They're kind of time trials, so you can do them whenever you want to. But for the Triple Crown challenge, you have to do them during the grande part, which is one day of the year where all the people who wanna do it the same, like, in one day, they do it that day. So it's 3 races, and they're all self-supported. They're mountain bike racing. Tour Divide, I think it's more gravel than mountain bike. Yeah, the first race is a Tour Divide. It's in June and it starts in Banff in Canada, and you go all the way to Mexico, like to the border in New Mexico. It's 4,400 kilometers. I don't know miles.
It's okay.
Then the second race is in August, and it's the Colorado Trail Race. This one is around 860 kilometers. And this year it went from Durango to Denver. And this one is, I think, harder than the Tour Divide. It's more technical. You walk a lot with your bike. And then the last race is the Arizona Trail Race. This one is the one that I didn't do. This one is 1,300 kilometers, and it's in Arizona, and you kind of cross Arizona from south to north. What's difficult about this race, besides everything it has in it, you have to walk with your bike for 42 kilometers. So that's the equivalent of a marathon. Carry your bike through the Grand Canyon because the tires of your bike, they can't touch the floor. So yeah,
You have
that's
to
one
carry
of
your
the
bike the whole time, like, you can't set it
on
down
your
at all.
back. Yeah. So
Okay.
part of like the training process of well, not training, but preparation process of Arizona is that you have to make a bag where you can carry the bike on. So you
Okay.
disassemble the bike, you put it on your backpack, and then you carry it,
Okay, that makes sense.
and then you hike the Grand Canyon.
Like, I am just picturing you, like, walking like this, like, with your bike, like, above your head, just, like, fully fully in its form, like, my arms would break off if I had to
Yeah.
carry my bike that far.
Well, I think your back still kind of
Yeah.
it dies in the process, yeah. But so yeah, at the Arizona Trail race, they say that's the hardest one of the three. Not just because it's the last one, but it's they say, I mean, it's as unrideable as Colorado. It's a lot of heat, a lot of cold. Yeah, and there's a lot of there's few resupply points, so you have to carry with a lot of food.
So then, can you walk us through, yeah, like, how the Tour Divide went, how the Colorado Trail race kinda
Yeah.
went, and then kind of, like, what led you to not do the Arizona race?
Yeah. Well, Tour Divide, as I said, was my dream.
Mhm.
It was it was a truly amazing it was an amazing experience. I had an amazing time. Yeah, I think it's a different kind of race. Since it's so long, you do have to sleep and you do have to take time to eat and such. Because in many bikepacking races, you're just like all the time, you don't even sleep or you don't eat what, but with Tour Divide, it's so many days I really have to pace yourself, which I really liked. It was a lonely race. I spent about 15 days very, very alone. I didn't see many people, and the people I did see, I would see them for like 10 minutes. I don't know. I had my favorite day was a day it snowed in Montana. Yeah, it was amazing. Or Wyoming, I don't remember anymore. And then it got harder when you got closer to New Mexico, at least for me, because it was desert and it was just super hot, and there were a lot of thunderstorms, and I'm super, super scared of thunder. So yeah, that was a big, big challenge. And I don't know, it was amazing. I felt really, really good the whole time. I had just a few days where it was harder, but not yeah, it was just harder, but I could deal with it. And yeah, I felt strong. I met Quinda there, which was amazing. It was the best day. I think it was the last. Well, I wouldn't say the last day was the best. It was actually the worst day, but it was the best morning when I met Quinda and we rode off together to ride our last day of the race. That was the it was terrible because I was so anxious to get to the finish line. I didn't even eat. I slept like an hour. I didn't drink water the whole day. And then there was a thunderstorm the hour I finished the race. So I was crying the whole time. It was terrible. But yeah, it was a very cool race. Yeah, and the finish line my mom and my boyfriend got there, so it was a good experience.
Yeah.
Um yeah, and then I had about like a month and a half to rest and kind of prepare for the Colorado Trail. And that was a very it was a very difficult month because I don't know, I was very tired from Tour Divide. And I was also at the same time I was very satisfied with my accomplishment. And I didn't know that at that time because I've been saying it a lot, but that was my actual objective. And after I finished it, I was like, okay, like I don't really have to do the Colorado Trail because I'm happy. But I had it all planned out, so I just decided to kind of ignore my negative side. I was like, kind of saying like I don't want to do it, I don't want to do it, so I just ignored it. And yeah, I got to Colorado, um, and something I do have to say about this whole process this year and these races that it was, at least for me, it was a lonely year in general because since I had to train, I went to stay in San Diego for many months to train because with the long hours and training, the camping stuff and everything in Mexico is a little bit difficult. So I went there alone and I spent, yeah, many months alone in San Diego. And then getting to the races, I got to both races also alone. So I would spend, all this anxiety that builds up before the race, I would spend it totally alone. So when I got to Colorado, that I wasn't in the best mental place. So I was alone in Durango for 3 days, and I was just cooped up in my room, eating and just feeling very, very anxious. And with when the race started, usually when you're anxious and you start the race, the anxiety just kind of blows off. and you forget about it. And here in Colorado, that didn't happen. I was just anxious the whole race, and it started at night. It started well, not at night. It started like at 4 a.m. or yeah, 4 a.m. So it was dark, and you start with a single track. And I remember everybody told me, Colorado, you're at least gonna walk 880 kilometers at least. So I was prepared for the walking, but I wasn't prepared to walk the first 10 minutes of the race.
Okay.
And I was so anxious that I couldn't even I wasn't able to ride. It wasn't that difficult. I was just I I was blocked mentally.
Mhm.
So I cried the first 10 minutes of the race, and that just yeah, it was not nice. It was the first race where I really didn't want to be there. And yeah, I had a very bad accident I finished it in 8 days, and I had a bad accident on day 5. I hit my collarbone. So yeah, that didn't help at all either. And when yeah, I finished, and after that, in theory, I had 2 months for the Arizona Trail to kind of chill, 2 months and a half to kind of rest and prepare myself because that was gonna be another challenge. And each race you have to prepare different stuff. You don't usually just repeat everything. You have to change things. And yeah, when I got back from Colorado, I think I had such a bad time for those 8 days. I didn't even feel proud of myself for finishing it because I didn't want to finish. I pushed myself, I think, beyond my limits that time. So I kind of went into this really low point in Mexico where I don't know if it's called a depression period, but I was super, super sad the whole time and very anxious because I didn't want to do Arizona, but I didn't want to accept that I didn't want to do it. And then I was kind of hoping that my injury would give me a good excuse to not do it. And that was the first sign of like, that, the moment I fell and I hit myself, the moment it hurt so much, but the first thing I thought when I fell was like, I can get out of this and I have a good reason. And then when I moved and it felt okay, I was like, it hurts, but I can do it. So yeah, after Colorado, I had a hard time kind of deciding what to do and what not to do. Because
Mhm.
obviously, I mean, the doctor told me I couldn't do the race. Not that I couldn't, but he told me, you're gonna get worse, and the recovery is gonna be longer if you do go. So yeah, it was a whole process, and then and that's when I also contacted Quinda, and she gave me the contact of this sports psychologist, and she helped me process this too. Yeah, and so I decided not to do it. Mainly because of the injury, but I do think, my head was just not there to help me recover as I should. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's so difficult because it's kind of like you probably, like, right, like, you knew that before you did the Colorado race, but it's like all the shoulds. Well, I set out to do this thing and I accomplished it, but, like, I should want more and I should do more because I'm taking this whole year off, and then it's like, well, that wasn't the original plan, and, like, my body and my mind knows that, and so it's like it's so hard to, because then when you look back, it's like you see all the signs of, like, why maybe that wasn't a good idea, but, like, until you go through it, like, can't recognize it or accept it, but I imagine that accepting that you didn't wanna do the Arizona Trail was pretty hard for you. Especially
Yeah.
because didn't if I read correctly, like, you were the last woman that was in the Triple Crown, and there's not a lot of women that have completed the Triple Crown, correct?
Yeah. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was the worst part, I think.
Yeah. What is it like being a woman in, like, ultra distance bike packing?
Well, in Mexico, if you add that, um, yeah, I don't know. It's sometimes, how do I say this? I love it when I go to events because I feel the few women that you see there that I really hope it increases with time. But the few women I get to meet there, you instantly have a lot in common, and you can. We're so few, and it's like so difficult to just get there that you just I don't know, it you feel. it's amazing to just meet all these people and be able to connect with them because it's something that's why I said in Mexico here, I think I've met two women that do bike packing and one of them that I really, really feel very connected to. So it's just like, you kind of uh, find these few people that do something that you really, really love. And also it's a sport with a lot of men, not just bike packing, but cycling in general. And that was a bit hard at first because I feel like my weekends, I was all the time just surrounded by men cycling. And yeah, it became kind of hard also to like ask people for advice because most of the people I knew that did bikepacking, they were all men, and there are many things that they're different, hygiene wise and just training, eating. It's a lot of things that when you're a woman, I mean, it's completely different. Well, not completely but different, but there are different factors to take into account.
Mhm.
So yeah, for on one side, it's amazing to be able to find these like few people that really connect with you, and then on the other, I hope more women start to do bikepacking because it's amazing. It would be nice to have a bigger community.
How do you handle fear? Like, there's certain fears as, like, a woman, being out at night or by yourself, and then there's, like, being alone on the trail, and then, like, bright thunderstorms and whatever you're afraid of, right? Everyone's afraid of different things, but how do you not let the things that scare you keep you from doing the overall goal?
Because I just assume fear is gonna be there and it's eventually gonna go away.
Mhm.
I mean, I'm scared of dogs. I'm scared of thunder. If I see them, I'm gonna be scared for a few minutes. I'm gonna be scared maybe for an hour or whatever. But the bigger picture, it's so much more than that. So I don't give it a lot of thought. Yeah, many people ask me about like grizzly bears and Tour Divide, and also about being alone and stuff. And it's just something that I don't know. I just assume it'll go away. I'll feel scared, but then it will go away. It's temporary. Yeah.
Do you remember the first night that you were, like, out alone?
I have. I mean, I have specific nights where I'm like, what am I? You just look at you and you're like, what am I doing here? I mean, I was training for the Tour Divide and I went on this like bike packing route called, well, in San Diego, around San Diego. And you go through this desert and I was in the middle of the desert completely alone. And I was with my bivy. And the funny thing, have you seen bivvies or not?
Yeah.
You're kind of like just like a plastic bag in the
Mhm.
middle of nowhere. So I was in my bivvy and I started listening to all these coyotes. And I didn't know what they were, so I was like, Googling because I had certain they just wanted to know. And then I started hearing gunshots, and they were on and on and on for hours, and I was terrified. I thought they were like, I don't know if they were I didn't know what they were doing. And that was a moment where I was like, I honestly don't know what I'm doing alone in a desert. And yeah, I've had moments like that, but I mean, you're so tired and stuff that you just kind of blows away.
You just, like, go to sleep and hope that
Yeah, you're just like, ah, yeah, it's coyote, yeah, I
you
don't
just
know.
kind of, like, you accept it. You're like, "If a coyote's gonna come for me, well, they're
Yeah.
gonna come for me,
Mm.
and there's nothing I can do about it." Yeah, I have so much, yeah, like, respect, and I admire you guys so much. I mean, it's definitely something that next summer I do a lot of ultra running, and so I wanna do more fast packing, and to do that, I would have to, like, also, like, get a bivvy and sleep in the woods by myself, and that is definitely the one thing that, like, terrifies me the most about doing endurance sports is because 'cause I'm terrified of the dark, and so it's like, when you're scared of the dark and, like, you have to, like, I go for sunrise hikes sometimes, and I am, like, so on edge because I'm like, "Something is gonna come out of the woods, there's gonna be a mountain lion," like, and so that is definitely the thing that'll be the hurdle that I have to get over, which is funny because it's, like, there's so many things that don't scare me, and it's, like, the solo and being alone part doesn't bother me, it's just, like, the sounds of, like,
Yeah,
the woods, and then you're like, "What am I doing out here by
yeah.
myself?"
Yeah, you also you train it. For me, it was also difficult. Like the first time I raced in dirt was in Colombia, and I was definitely a lot more scared or aware of the darkness than I was in the other races. Yeah, you get used to it and you kind of start liking it at some point.
Is it very rare to have, like to be, like, sleeping in the same area as someone else? Because, like, there's not really anywhere that you're, you there's no, like, rest stops. It's kind of like you decide when you sleep.
I wouldn't say it's rare. I mean, I do think it depends in what like part of a race you're at.
Mhm.
I think I'm usually like in the front of the middle pack. So there's usually many racers around me. And if not, like, yeah, so it can become like for me that I don't really like sleeping alone that much. I would think, in the Tour Divide, when I would see in my map that there was like a bunch of people sleeping in one place, I would try to get there to feel less lonely at night.
Okay.
Or even in Colorado, if I was in the middle of the forest and I saw there were like a bunch of people camping in the same spot, I would say like, oh, okay, I'll just stay here and sleep here rather than riding an hour more and sleeping alone.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I mean, I think it depends a lot on the race, and I think it depends a lot on where you're racing. Because I think the people in the front pack, usually that doesn't happen to them a lot because they're lonelier. Yeah,
Okay. That makes
yeah, yeah.
sense. I guess then with you have, like, a map that you can see everyone, like, as dots, like, on the race?
I
Yeah,
have
you
no
may I
idea.
guess you may not
I
know.
mean,
I guess I have no idea.
you run, right? You don't have that like a
I mean,
map.
I guess you do, like, you have, like, timing chips. I think it like, I guess, like, you have, like, a timing chip that, like, maybe will, like, give you, like, each checkpoint, if that makes sense, but I
Hmm.
don't know if you could see me at all times. I'd have to look into
Yeah,
that, I don't know.
I think, and I'm gonna assume it. I
Okay,
have no idea.
totally
I
fine.
think people like sports, like adventure-ish disciplines.
Mhm.
I would guess that since people carry trackers, that's the way. Because even I know this guy that swims long distance, and you can also follow him on his tracker. So I guess it's just like it depends on the organization. Because like if you're I don't know, yeah.
No, that makes sense because I do know some races like UTMB and stuff, like, you're required, I think, to carry, like,
So yeah.
a tracker, like a GPS, so that way people can find you, but I think that's just also because of the nature of the race, and maybe it's, like,
Hmm.
unsafe for people to not know how to
Hmm.
find you. If you could sum up your year in, like, one, like, lesson or one takeaway that you took from all of the things that you did or accomplished or didn't accomplish, what would it be?
Well, I think I had two lessons.
That's fine.
One personal and one that's more like on the sports side. But yeah, personally, the most important thing I learned was that, yeah, when I decided to do this bike thing and why I do these races, like I've said so many times before, is just like these small moments of just happiness and being able to appreciate everything around you. And I noticed that while it's really cool to do that, I during the tour divide especially, I mean, I should be able to find these moments in my day-to-day life or in my daily life without having to deprive myself of everything. Like it would be very like I learned that I have to practice that and that I have to, be able to find these moments in places where I'm not in the middle of nowhere all alone and just hungry and tired and everything. Know that there's a lot of cool stuff around me that I should be able to pay attention to. So I think just like it's kind of cheesy, but just yeah, just paying attention to your happiness and stuff that make you happy. And then sports wise, yeah. I mean, I guess many years. Well, since I started this sport, I've always just kind of thrown myself into it. So I always had the heart and I always had the mind for the racing, but I was always very, like kind of insecure if my body was going to be able to do it. And I think what happened to me after Tour Divide is that I noticed that my body was there, that I could really achieve if I wanted to and if everything went right, I could really reach, go beyond my limits. And with these races and after Colorado where I had a terrible time, I just noticed that I mean, with these sports that you kind of learn, you kind of train yourself to separate your head, yeah, like your mind from your body, like your body's aching, you're tired, you're hungry, you want to sleep, and you kind of learn to, okay, like ignore that and go on. And you train that and you do that. And I did that for so many months that I kind of forgot that eventually, you have to bring them back together.
Mhm.
So I think that's what happened after Colorado, that I really noticed that I had left kind of like my mind behind, and yeah, it took me a while to realize that I wasn't doing what I wanted.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. Something that I like to ask everyone at the end of the podcast, because I wanna be respectful of your time, is if you could give your younger self one piece of advice, what would it be? Like, if someone is listening to this podcast and they're like, "I've always wanted to go bikepacking or go try this thing or quit my job or do X, Y, and Z," like, what would your advice to them be?
I'm gonna sound like a Nike commercial. No, I would just say to go for it. I mean, don't wait till everything kind of lines up. If you want to do something, try to do it. And if you fail, then you can try again later. But yeah, to just yeah.
I love it. Well, is there anything else that you would like the audience to know today?
Can I mention the GoFundMe I
Yeah.
organized?
Yeah.
Ah, okay. Yeah, that I part of a challenge that I wanted to do was I did like a community collective fundraising for to clean a river in a town near Mexico, and it's this project. It was the whole initiative was from the kids of that town, and so it's a very special project. They're very inspired by this whole challenge. So yeah, if people want to visit my profile and click on the link and donate, that would be amazing.
Thanks for listening to the Blue Rose Podcast. If you love this episode, please hit follow, leave a review, or send it to a friend who's building their own bold life. Keep trusting yourself, and I'll see you next week.